Hi friends, good morning. It's Evan, and I'm glad to be with you today as we continue our journey through Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. This week we've been looking at how we as believers and followers in Jesus and after Jesus are called to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world, that we play a role in the world around us, and it's a role of bringing value and being a benefit to the community God has placed us in the same way that salt is a benefit to food and light is a benefit in darkness. Today's companion scripture and the reading is out of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It's a famous passage on the value of love that the Apostle Paul wrote. Maybe you've heard it read at a wedding or two. But this idea that there's no higher virtue than love. In fact, Paul writes in this chapter, he says that there's three things that will remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these, the thing at the top, the thing that is the highest of all the virtues, is love. Paul knew that God himself is love, that this is the idea that everything that we are as followers of Jesus is rooted and motivated by our love for God and our love for one another. This past Christmas, my wife went out and bought gifts for our 8-year-old and our 2-year-old, and one of the gifts that she bought were recorders, those flutes. And my 8-year-old does pretty good. She's musically inclined. My 2-year-old, not so much. And I can't think of a worse gift for a 2-year-old than a flute. It's in the right hands, I'm sure, it could be beautiful. But in the hands of my son, Jack, it is far from it. What is designed to create music creates just the worst noise I can think of. I think this is what Paul was getting at when he says that without love, we're like a clanging cymbal or a crashing gong. This idea that think of all the worst sounds in the world. Think of a smoke alarm going off in the middle of the night. Think of an emergency vehicle turning on its siren right behind you. There's a visceral reaction to these kinds of noises. And I wonder if in the world around us, there's a visceral reaction sometimes to the way that we as Christians act and behave in relationships. It's a challenge to live out our lives from a place of love. But to be rooted in love is to follow after Jesus. It's to be a disciple of Jesus, to respond from a place of love when we want to be abrasive and loud. And there's a good reason that smoke alarms and sirens are so loud and abrasive, is to get attention, and it's to say, get out of the way. And I think sometimes it's easy to think as Christians that that's our calling, is that we want people to pay attention to what we have to say, and we want people to get out of our way. And Jesus and Paul today would say there's a better way. There's a better way to follow after Jesus than being the noisiest and the most abrasive. It's called walking in the way of Jesus, which is the way of love, and it is so hard. But with his grace, and as we follow after him, my prayer is that he would soften our hearts and make us into his image, which is to say that we always are motivated and respond to the world around us in love. God bless you guys.